installing this Bang & Olufsen ram and valve cover on a 2021 Ram 2500. So you have 4 10mm bolts on the EGR. You have a 7/16 beam clamp. You have another 7/16 clamp, and you have a 19mm wrench to take this out. And you guys also have an 8mm bolt. It goes right there. It clamps. It holds this clamp to the block right here. Alright, next, after removing the EGR, you remove this 13mm bolt right here. And remove this 10mm bolt to be able to get this heat shield out of your way, to be able to disconnect the charge pipe. Alright, now you're going to take this 10mm bolt out and that 10mm bolt out. Actually, nuts. Alright, we're going to take these 3 10mm bolts out. Be able to get this bracket out of our way. Alright, so we removed this plug, this plug, this plug, that plug, pulled out the
CCV.
Yeah, CCV back oil vents on both of these. Pulled this plug. Now removing this front fuel line, 2-cylinder 1. Now removing the intake horn after getting the fuel line out of the way.
Need a swivel socket.
Alright, so there's one more plug. You got the flashlight. Way down here. Right there, that has to come off. And then this intake horn can come out. Took all the fuel lines out. This flange back here is a 17mm bolt. This is 3/4. All the fuel lines are all 3/4. Moving the 4 10mm bolts that hold the fuel rail on.
3.
Oh, is there only 3?
Yeah.
I thought I saw 4. One right there, one there, and one way back there.
Oh no!
Is that all rusty?
Because it's an iron block. The best way to disconnect the fuel rail is from underneath the truck, reaching up behind it. You pulled the fuel rail, pulled the last 5 bolts out, 4 bolts, whatever was left, and then the grid heater plate is ready to come out. Alright guys, well my brother Zach had to go home and get ready to go to work, so I am Bobby and we are going to be taking over this video. So I have the plate in, the Banks, new Banks aluminum grid heater delete plate, and it came with 4 of these spacers, which are right here. These will not be all used. There will only be 3 used for the 2021. That must be for the 2007 and 10 models. Has 2, basically there's 2 tangs here that hold the fuel rail on, and then the other 2 are in the same exact spot. Looks like they got rid of 1 tang for whatever reason. So your new air temperature sensor has been relocated to the left side of the fuel rail, and we put the 3 longer bolts back in that originally came off with the spacers, 3 spacers, 1 back here, 2, and then 3 up front. And now we are going to use the short bolts to put back. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes left back here by the fuel rail that will be getting put back. These are going to be 3 of the 5 that will get put back, and then these plates, these holes for these plates will be using alternative bolts that came out, plus the new ones that came with the Banks Monster Ram air intake cord. So stand by. Alright guys, so I am using blue Loctite to tighten the bolts, all of them, getting blue Loctite, except the fuel lines. On that note, these are the 6 that come out of your old air intake horn. This one goes down the center like so. These ones we will also use. So there was a total of 4, 1 in the back corner here, 1 here, 1 here on this side of the temperature sensor, 1 here, and 1 here. That were the small bolts that came off the original manifold. The long ones go on the 3 on the fuel line. I'm going to be using 1 of these to fill in the last hole that goes right there. I will be putting blue Loctite on it. All 6 of these bolts come brand new on the new Ram air intake horn, and they are integrated as so. The 2 long ones go here and here. We have 2 longer ones, these ones right here, and then those 2 short ones go right here. Now they do need the washers, it also comes with washers, but when you lift it up they are leveled, all 6 of them. So that is how they are going to be orientated on here going forward in there. So your extra bolts will be considered extra. Build it better. Alright guys, so I have 3 of the long bolts, and then I have all of them finger tight currently. They will be getting torqued down to, I believe, 21 or 23 foot-pounds. The fittings on your fuel lines are torqued down to 41 foot-pounds. The next thing I want to talk about is the return line bolt. This bolt has 2 fabric, well, they're rubber washers. They have a rubber O-ring that's literally melted or pressed in on the inside of the washer. 1 goes on the bolt like so, and then the other one will go underneath the line. So this line right there, one goes on top and one goes on the bottom of this. That'll be torqued down to, let me get back on that, I think it's 21 foot-pounds as well. Alright guys, I got the first fuel line back in, torqued at 41 foot-pounds. I did tighten that return line also to 41 foot-pounds. Now you're going to put all the fuel lines from backwards forwards and tighten them up as you go. And the only one we're not going to do is the first cylinder fuel line. That's the only one we're not going to do right now. And then yeah, when we get there, I'm going to put these on, and then we're going to also, all these other manifold bolts, 21 foot-pound torque. Alright guys, well, the sun has definitely set on us. I got all the lines torqued down with my arm that I had calibrated to 41 foot-pounds. It says front, so this is going to sit like this. They say spray it on to the Banks Monster Ram intake horn. I'm not gonna do that. It's gonna sit right there, and I guess that's for people that have alignment issues. I am fine. So on the Banks Monster Ram, I already have this screw in here because they say to use a magnet and fish it down through the heater inlet core, and that's going to be just a pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do is set the screw already with Loctite already on it, and they included this lovely Allen key already in your order. So I have a 6mm 6-point socket right here, and then I have my extension, so it don't fall out, because we don't want none of this falling down in the intake and then having to restart. So this is going to go on top of that screw down through the heater core like this, so I can get it on there and start threading it in as soon as I get this on there. So without further ado, get going on this. And you guys can see how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bend my dipstick a little bit up out of the way. Get my rag out of my intake. Right. Now I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna put the other bolts in, the new ones that came with it, and I'm gonna thread all those in by hand because they're reachable. And then yeah, this is for the new dipstick holder. I put in all the plugs. There's 4 of the little ones and 1 big one on the back side. The basically just little freeze plugs. They're for more sensors that are not needed. This plate is for the cover, the black cover that goes back on here. These 2 bolts I removed as of right now because that shield hangs off just a little bit too far over, and it makes it a pain in the butt to do this. So we're going to put these 2 bolts on with the bank shield that covers the EGR in just a little while. I'm gonna get these 4 bolts in, and then we'll go from there. So here, let me see if here we have the part of the 6 bolts, but the 2 long ones go on the big side, and then the small one of these with the already washer on, yeah, that is the one that was in the center of the intake that I put in already. So this one will go in the center on the valve cover side in the motor. And then I'm gonna put Loctite on all these. Be generous if you want. So I did notice, I thought I'd be able to put this fuel line on afterwards. That is so far a no. No, you cannot put the fuel line on. That comes with the kit on afterwards. There's no room. So put this fuel line in, and then put the intake horn in. So I'm going to tighten these to 41 foot-pounds. Click, click, click. Yep, there it is. Click, click. Perfect. All right, now we're going to put the ram intake in. Monster brain. Now I'm gonna get this guy in here. Just backing off the bolt to where it's kind of level with the surface to slide it underneath that fuel rail that we put in. Now I'm just tightening it, get it snug. There it is, nice and snug. Nice and snug, and I can still move the gasket down here. Just want it just tight enough to where we can still move that gasket and line up the other bolts. Now these last 4 bolts, you will put the washers on. That one goes there. That one goes there. This other one with the built dragon tooth stamped lock washer already built onto the head is going to come out in the center over here. Which is harder than it looks. Alright, last one. Unfortunately, my boost tubes, I ordered the boost tube kit with this as well. Now looking at it, I shouldn't have got ants in my pants, and I should have just waited till I got my boost tubes, because it would have been easier. But the boost tubes, aka charge pipe, coming off the turbo, I did get that. It is worth getting. I have not seen them yet because they are ordered they're made when you order them. So mine are currently getting powder coated and will be getting shipped off here soon, probably tomorrow. And I will get them and probably in like 2-3 days. I should have waited, but like I said, I didn't want to wait. I wanted to do this thing now. I was getting antsy. So, especially with my other aftermarket parts, valve cover, got the fleece bypass, coolant bypass. I got some other things coming as well. I can't wait till Banks comes out with the intercooler, because I will be on the list to get that thing as soon as they come out. And then get this thing deleted, because seeing all that gunk in that EGR makes me not want to put this back on. But alright guys, so 2 wires. This wire goes on the intake plate, the billet plate. This is your temperature sensor. This will plug in to that white plug hanging right there. We'll plug in right there to that sensor, and that's your extension. Alright guys, new day. So there is 2 gaskets on this line and this line. Thin gasket here, graphite gasket here. This one looked like it was just a metal with plastic on both sides. Got everything hooked up, rehooked up the CPU. I got this sensor unhooked because I am going to get ready to retake these 3 off back here. I'm going to take this one off, and this one off with this one, and move this back out of the way because I'm going to do the valve cover. I'm going to put in my aftermarket valve cover by Speedlab. I'm going to be reinstalling the sensor port, same location on the new valve cover, so I got to drill and tap that to hold that. On this I put the extra bracket that comes with the hardware kit with the nut, and then this I did a bolt and a nut on this, and this is for your heater grid or heater cylinder port. I routed the line like this temporarily till I figure out how I want to fully route it, because I got my oil catch can, which I got to make a bracket for, and then I'm going to incorporate that part of the bracket. The extensions, there's one extension here for your intake flow. That was one extension. The other extension goes down to your throttle, and this extension comes up here and plugs in here for the EGR. This is the EGR extension, so it had to, the main plug had to reach down to here, so your extension plugs in right here. That usually plugged into the EGR connector, but now you have the adapter. So there's that. I reattached the batteries and primed it by turning on and off the truck. Make sure you plug in that fuel rail, because I forgot to, and it didn't want to start the first 2 starts, but it fired up on the 3rd one. So no leaks on any of the lines, so my torques were in spec, which was good. But yeah, I bent this up out of the way. I was gonna take it off, but I'm like, I'm gonna just do it in the morning, so I just kind of bent it up out of the way. This will have to be removed, so you'll have to pull the 8 bolts to take this up and remove that. I don't know what size that is yet, but if I had to say, it's probably going to be a 10 mil. You will not be putting this support bracket that's right here, you can see the wear mark, that will not be going back on. You will not need it. Probably missed some things and probably didn't help you guys out, but I'm sure you guys will leave that in the comments. This I'm going to end up using to build the bracket after I get this cleaned up and powder coated. Is going to, if I were to put a catch can anywhere, guys, there's 3 bolt holes right here, 1, 2, and 3. This bracket holds the charge pipe, or not the charge pipe, the coolant inlet inflow pipe. And I'm going to use this bolt here, and I'm going to build a bracket off of this, and this is going to support. And then I'm going to run 1 CCV line. This is a intake. I built this for inflow, and then has a bunch of baffles in there that I built internally. This is your clean air out. I'm going to plug this and put another vertical filter on right here. Either that or just plug it completely, because I will not be using it at all. Alright guys, we got this 2, 4, 6 bolts out. This should just lightly pull up, and it should separate this other one, because I do not want to pull up. So there's these little tabs, I'll have to show you in a minute, that, yeah, this wire is going to have to be rerouted. It has been in my way twice. I'm going to pull the breather hoses off. There's these little tabs that hold on this separate gasket, which are attached to the plugs here. Be very careful, take your time. Getting that off. So this valve cover, there's these tabs on the side of the block. You want to make sure you press down on those. Not hard, don't smack it, but just press down on those to hold that valve cover off as you separate it. It's best to start at the front one right here, and then you have 2 right next to it, and then you're going to just go around and push it down onto the block, because that is very important that that sits when we go ahead and put the new valve cover back on. I'm gonna take, I'm gonna take 3 brand new. I probably could have got rid of with 2, but 3 brand new microfiber towels. I'm gonna lay it in here because I do not want anything getting in here. If any wind comes up or anything, I don't want anything trying to get in here. That's oil coming through from the lifters. That is fine. I'm gonna get one on the back side here. Alright guys, so I took off the valve cover, and then I saw that there was 2 sensors, and if you unplug them you get an engine code, but if you plug them back in to where they're just sitting there, no engine codes. So I'm going to tape those up as is. There's 6 Allen bolts with O-rings. Run the O-ring all the way up first so it doesn't get pinched. And you are going to drive this in. with a 6mm wrench. I flipped this one back because there was two. This one will actually land right in front of the plug. And I flipped it this way and I'm like, oh, well, there's something here too, so I can't go that way. So I have to come with a 90 off here. But I threw the plug that came with it in there. And I'm gonna run it like that for right now. Because I was gonna run both of these, but both of these were gonna go into a Y splitter and then to one into the catch can. So instead of doing that, now I'm gonna just run a single for right now, and I will be throwing that Y in there to where they both have ventilation in the future. But I'm gonna have to order another black barbed fitting at 1-inch thread, and I think it's 14's. It's 14M spec threads. So I'm going to snug this up, make sure the valve cover is straight, and get all these bolts threaded down, and I'm going to just snug them up little by little, and then get them to where they're all pretty much tight, and then start the truck, let it get warmed up, and then do a final tight down on them. Alright guys, so I undid the harness to be able to access this plug better, because this one sits right there on the backside. So I'm going to plug this back in, and this one has no safeties. That one's done. So I put a bag on it, and then I went up, taped it, came back down, and then went back up. So that's that. That will get zip tied to that loop line for cylinder 4 to 6 injectors, and then these are still plugged in, and this is going to get zip tied to this, and then this is going to get supported underneath here. I'm gonna run this like this, and this will get zip tied up here, and then this will all get zip tied up under here, like so, to where you don't see it. And this will get zip tied, probably take this off, and that will go to there. So then I can see down the fuel rail. Unplug the yellow one here too. So I'll push this back over, and I'll click this one back in, and then push the yellow pin in. That one's done. And then I'm gonna figure out, I think I'm gonna swivel this around. I gotta take this off, and it did come with heat shrink, some red heat shrink, so that this doesn't make contact, because there is electricity going through this. So I'm gonna take this back off, at least this nut, put the heat shrink on here, tighten that nut, and then put the heat shrink back, and then probably, yeah, I'll take a heat gun to it and then heat this up so it shrinks on there. But I'll make sure it's nice and tight, and I'll probably put blue Loctite on both of these nuts. So actually I'm going to take that nut off too, to where this don't get loose at all. Other than that, valve cover was simple. I just snugged these up for now. Just hand snug, probably I'd say 10 foot-pounds, if that. Probably 8. And then tightened up, snugged them all evenly. You can use an Allen key, 6mm Allen key. Highly recommended to use a 6mm socket, because it is much easier, especially on the back too. I was using an Allen key to make sure it's doable, and I did drop it, and it luckily went through everything and landed on the floor. And then I went to a 6mm socket, but you can do it. It is doable. It's just a pain in the butt. Other than that, there's the Speed Lab valve cover. I'm gonna route my hoses. I gotta mount my box, but that is pretty much it. I did take that plug off the turbo, and that plug looks like this. And I'm going to go down and get a brass plug, or aluminum or stainless, depending on what they have, and then take this O-ring off and put it on that new plug, as long as it has a face to sit on. And then I'm going to thread that in there, and that will block off that plug. And then as for the other two, These two, I'm going to do the same thing at the Y. Put a block off plug in there, put a hose clamp around that, and there will be a barbed fitting as well on that one. This one will be a barbed fitting, and that will seal that off until I get the block off plate for the block. And then I'm going to make a hose and route my hose around into my catch can, which will go right here. And then the clean air, I was going to put it back into the turbo, but as of right now I just want to get it to the catch can, and then I'll probably throw it back to the turbo with clean air. Catch can's gonna sit right here, and I'm gonna come off this bracket, these bolt brackets right here, and it's gonna sit right here. It's away from the engine. It's not gonna sit over here by the turbo or the exhaust, so this is going to be the safest area to probably put a catch can. That way you don't have to worry about it. And all the catch cans I see come off of this block anyways, and they sit right here. Other than that, yeah guys, thanks for tuning in. Super easy, highly recommended. This is very nice, especially for like $350 out the door shipped. So thank you, Speed Lab.